Welcome to the archives. Please, enjoy your stay. Today, I present you a true Reddit Let's Not Meet story. I used to work at one of those 24/7 Walmart supercenters. I was right out of high school, 19, female, and worked as a cashier for 2 terrible years, where I was subjected to all kinds of abuse from customers and co-workers alike. I mean, I was screamed at, slammed into a register face first, groped, and even farted on once because this old lady was mad that oranges were priced each and not by the pound. Yeah, I'm not kidding. The time that sticks out in my mind the most is the time a customer tried to follow me home. This is that story. I had just started my shift, and the second I got on the register, I had a line about 10 people long. For some reason, the Walmart I worked at never had enough registers open, so people were usually really mad and impatient by the time they got to me. I get right to work and keep a smile plastered to my face while making the minimal mandatory small talk, like "How are you? Did you find everything?" Most customers were polite, but not very interested in talking, so it's easy to fall into a bit of a cashier robot mode. I get to this guy who had only 2 items, yogurt and Band-Aids. I ring it all up in record time and neatly bag it up, but the customer doesn't seem to be paying any attention. He wouldn't look at me or answer my greeting. His eyes just stared right down at the conveyor belt. Maybe he was a bit zoned out. The conveyor belt didn't look too dirty. I hadn't had a chance to wash it yet because the second I had walked over to the register, people started lining up. Side note to all of you, always bag up your produce. Conveyor belts get really nasty. I tell the man his total, which was something like $4.36. And he starts fishing in his pockets for exact change without looking up. Inwardly, I groan, but keep my customer service smile fixed onto my face. He's wearing one of those muddy brown denim jackets with lots of pockets. And as he rifles through, I keep catching whiffs of stale BO and cigarettes. His hands were pretty dirty too, and all dried out from the cold weather. He dumps out an assortment of change on the counter, still not even looking at me, and I begin to count it up. Everything is uncomfortably quiet. I can feel the eyes of every customer waiting in line burning into me, all except the guy right in front of me, who was then digging in his pants pockets. He was about 30 cents short. I let him know once I was sure he wasn't going to find any more coins. It was then that he looks at me, making this scrunched up face. His eyes were very dark brown, almost black, and they pierced right into me accusingly, as if he thought I was lying or something. While he was watching, I counted everything again. "It's only 30 cents. Can't you just give me your employee discount?" "No, that's against the rules," I answered apologetically. "Want to put something back?" I wasn't about to get fired for giving someone my discount, which was only 10% if you're wondering. He wasn't the first person to ask for it, but most people pretended they were joking. He was not joking. "No, I want them," he said, glaring at me. I was beginning to wish he'd start staring at the conveyor belt again, instead of me. He was making me pretty uncomfortable. If I'd had 30 cents in my pocket, I would have paid it up myself just to get this guy to leave. He reaches over to take the bag, but I turned the little bag carousel so he can't. That was probably a stupid move on my part, but it wasn't like I could let him steal, right? If my register was short 30 cents, my supervisors would be all over me. "I know you get a discount, just plug it in." He completely blows up at this point, but I just shake my head and look at the other customers, probably with a deer in headlights expression. People are watching, but no one does anything. This is just something that's inconveniencing them, even though I'm actually pretty scared. I'd already started flashing my register lights so that the CSM would come, but they were notorious for taking their sweet time. "I'll get a CSM, but it might be a few minutes," I nervously offer. But the man just goes off and goes on about how it's not that much and he really needs it, with some explicit language thrown in, of course. He leaves before the supervisors come over, grabbing all of his change and shoving it all into one pocket before stomping off angrily. I'm relieved that he's gone and continue working in uneasy silence. Everything seemed to go on as normal after that. My shift ends at midnight, and I managed to clock out on time, for once. I didn't have a car, and would normally call my mom to come and pick me up, but she was out of town, and it was too late to call anyone else, so I decided to walk, rather than waste my money on a cab. I lived about 20 minutes away, and felt pretty safe walking, because you didn't really tend to run into other pedestrians at that hour. After a few minutes of walking, I noticed a car was driving really slowly behind me. The speed limit in that area was 45, and this car was probably going about 10. I got a bad gut feeling and walked a little faster while trying to rationalize it. It could have been someone who wanted to offer me a ride, or maybe get directions, but no, whoever it was stayed behind me and did not try to pull up next to me at all, even though they were going really slow. After about 5 minutes of this, the car finally turns off into one of the neighborhoods. I was relieved, but it was short-lived. The driver parks his car on the curb and gets out of his car, then comes jogging up to me. I realize immediately that it was the yogurt Band-Aid guy. He's wearing the exact same muddy brown jacket and is staring at me with those dark eyes. I turn around and start jogging down the sidewalk, which is still icy, and he just jogs up right next to me. I can actually hear the change jingling in his pocket. He doesn't say anything at first, so I just try to run faster without slipping. Had this guy been sitting in the parking lot for hours, waiting for me to get off? Apparently so. I feel him staring at me and turn my head to look at him, while still running as fast as I can on the ice. Inwardly, I thank my lucky stars that there was fresh gravel laid out, or I probably would have slipped in classic horror movie cliché fashion. "What color is your underwear?" he asks. This question horrified and disgusted me, so my immediate reaction was, "Don't be a creep," and I punched him right in the face. It hurt my hand like a bitch, but he stops running for a second and bends forward a bit, clutching his face. I swear, I think I heard him say, "Okay," but I just kept running, and I'm too scared to look back. I'm not sure if he kept following me after that, but I didn't run straight home because I was scared of him figuring out where I lived. When I did make it home, probably an hour later, I went to my landlady's apartment first and told her what had happened. I was really shaken up, and I told her that if she saw a suspicious guy around the building, she should definitely call the police. My mom was out of town. I did still live with her at the time, and she didn't answer my calls, so I watched Disney movies until I was calm enough to go to sleep. The next day, I told the managers at work what had happened, but of course, typical Walmart fashion, they didn't care. In hindsight, I probably should have called the police anyway, but I was young and I thought that if it was necessary, management would have told me to do it. I don't know why I thought that, considering they had a way of really not caring about their employees, and this sort of situation wouldn't have made them look good. This wasn't the only Walmart-related incident where police should have been called, but weren't. I felt pretty angry that they didn't take me seriously or care that I was scared. I wanted to go home early because I was scared that the guy would show up again, but they told me no and made me go work the registers. I quit shortly after that. I never did see Yogurt Band-Aid guy again, but it's been about 10 years and I'm not even sure I'd recognize him even if I did. Even so, Yogurt Band-Aid guy, let's not meet again.